last week that we went, really nothing happened. And I think we should start with your op-ed today, the Trump media war.
Okay, Beck, I'm ready to go.
Good, then go.
The Trump media war is, I would say, depressing to Americans who are thinking people because it basically signals that there's not going to be any unity in this country while President Trump is holding the office, because neither side is going to back down. All right. But then I took a letter out of my historical collection by Harry Truman, which makes the column really worth reading. And I say this is nothing new. And Truman just excoriates the media and gives examples about how it was so unfair to Abraham Lincoln and George Washington and other presidents. So it really isn't new. What is new is the machines, the tweets, the hysteria on cable news. All of that is new. But, it seeps into the culture, and it makes us a more disagreeable population, Beck.
So let me go back, because the first paragraph of your op-ed, which is honestly the only paragraph I read,
Mr. Preparation
was about Jim Acosta.
Yeah.
So let me go here, because you're absolutely right on. This has always been this way. It's just everywhere now, and it's in our own personal life, and we are participating in sharing it now. So it's everywhere. But let me specifically go to Jim Acosta, because I'm sick of this debate here. I think, and correct me, tell me where I'm wrong here. I think the president taking away Jim Acosta's pass, White House pass, is justified in this case, because Jim Acosta needs somebody, should be CNN, to say, Jim, there are rules. And you can ask a follow-up question. It used to always be, sir, I have one question and I'd like a follow-up. Yes, go ahead. Then the follow-up. He would not stop asking questions. The president answered. He really tried to answer to the best of his ability and peacefully and nicely. Jim Acosta really didn't even ask a question. He was just trying to condemn he was picking a fight with the president. CNN should have said, Jim, stop it. We don't behave that way. And I don't care how the president behaves. We're not going to behave that way. So the question is this a freedom of speech issue or freedom of the press issue? I don't think it is.
No, it's a quality control issue. On BillO'Reilly.com, that's where the column that you refuse to read. And Beck, you're wealthy enough to have people read it to you.
Oh, I can't pay people enough. I can't pay people enough to
follow you and read it.
Oh, they can't do it. They're like, please.
So the column's on BillO'Reilly.com, and yesterday we brought in a guy, a lawyer, a former prosecutor, who went down line by line over CNN's complaint and pointed out at least a dozen inaccuracies in the complaint to the federal judge that were flat out wrong and provable wrong. You could see it with your own eyes. And I said, well, will that influence the judge that CNN is not telling the truth about Jim Acosta and the what happened in the White House briefing room? Will that? And he said, well, it shouldn't influence the judge's ruling on the constitutional request, but it'll tee off the judge, because the judge will see that CNN is lying, which they clearly were in the complaint. So that tells you that CNN has no interest.
Give me the lies, because I missed that. Okay. And that sounds like the first segment.
That's why you go to BillO'Reilly.com every night.
I know. It sounds like the first segment in 3 years that I've been interested in.
Oh, come on. You're just so jealous. Oh, he's such a jealous guy.
He is, Bill. I agree with you.
Rub some of that painkiller on your forehead right now, will you? Gee.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So it's basically CNN alleges in its complaint to the federal judge that Acosta simply asked a question. That's lie number one.
Yes.
Not what he did. All right, he harangued the president and insinuated that he was lying when he labeled the caravan an invasion.
Correct.
That's not a question. It's an insinuation and a harangue. And everybody knows it. Nobody's going to say it isn't. Even the people on CNN wouldn't say it isn't.
No, that's...
Yet the management puts that in writing to a federal judge. Come on. It's ridiculous. So your question was, shouldn't CNN try to rein in its chief White House correspondent from disrupting a national press conference? And the answer is CNN wants the disruption. It's the only way they're going to get in the news. Their ratings are horrible, and their business model is to destroy the Trump presidency. So of course they're going to say, "Hey, Jim, go on in." CNN's not banned from the White House. They have correspondents that cover the presidential press conference, just not Acosta, because he will not obey the rules of decorum.
Well, let me play devil's advocate, and I do not think this is what's going on, but we have to protect. I don't want I wouldn't want Fox News to have who was it? Major Garrett was really good at holding Obama's feet to the fire. Jake Tapper, when he was, I think, with ABC, he was really good at holding. They were the only two that did. And I don't want the hang on. Hey, just pipe down for a second, man. So I don't want the president to be able to say, I don't like the fact that he asked me tough questions. What I want is they have to be respectful. And those guys were. They were always respectful of the president and the office. That's not what's happening with Jim Acosta. If he were asking questions, tough questions, he would have every right to do it, and I would celebrate and I would stand behind his right to ask the toughest questions. But that's not what he's doing.
But it's obvious it's not what he's doing. Yeah. And the White House denying him the press pass was not based on editorial content. It was based on behavior. He was misbehaving in their opinion, in the White House opinion. So now the judge has to make that determination. Has to say, was it the banishment of Acosta based on his behavior, or was it an editorial statement? And I think it's clear
now,
that it was behavior.
Bill,
so we'll see if the judge, who is a Trump appointee, comes back today and gives CNN relief. All CNN is asking for today is a restraining order against banning Acosta, not the whole decision. But what the judge will say is yes or no. You have to give him the pass back.
Why did he ask for an extra day?
I don't know. I believe that this is obviously the judge's big moment in the spotlight, and he wants to probably go over his decision, every word of it, because he knows he's going to get hammered either way.
Yeah.
Whatever his decision is, the judge is going to get hammered. So he wants to go over a little more time and just get the wording correct. That's speculation, but that's what I would surmise.
Bill, separate from the actual court proceedings, because you said something, and I think I totally agree with it, which is CNN wants the disruption. This is the way they're making news. Jim Acosta doesn't care about the truth. Jim Acosta wants to be a star. He wants to put himself and elevate himself to the level of a fight with the president of the United States. My question is, just strategically from the Trump administration standpoint, doesn't this elevate him and put him on this platform where it's Trump versus Acosta, and it's giving Acosta everything he wants to be a martyr for the First Amendment?
Well, Trump sees it differently in the sense that Trump wants to build a wall, not only to keep out migrants on the southern border, but against criticism from the national press. And part of the wall is convincing Americans that the press will never report accurately on him. Mm-hmm. And look at this guy. Look at him. So the Trump administration believes that Acosta's aggression helps them by diminishing the press in general. And I'll tell you what, if you look at the surveys about Americans and how they feel about the American media, they're down there in the 30s now. They don't trust them. They don't like them. So it could be something to that. So that's why Trump is doing it.
Why did Fox take the stand with CNN?
Well, that's an excellent question, Beck.
Of course it is. It came from me.
I know, a guy who doesn't read the research material before he interviews.
Oh, I read every word of that damn thing. I had to take no-dos to get through it.
I know, Beck. This is a evaluation on the Glenn Beck radio program based upon my knowledge of what is happening at FNC. Okay. Regime change. That happened when Roger Ailes left the company. Now the new people are not of the same mindset of Mr. Ailes. All right, that's number one. So there has been a change, a shift. And the shift has basically been we have to become more mainstream, not more liberal, all right, but more mainstream. We have a powerful brand. We have a loyal audience. And now we have to get closer to the other national media. That's what we want to do. That is the strategy.
That won't work.
Okay. Well, maybe not.
Well, I mean, what is mainstream?
Why they did what they did?
Right, but what does mainstream mean? We want to be closer to the mainstream.
They want to be in the club.
They'll never be in the club.
Well, we celebrated when you and I were there. We celebrated the fact that we were not in the club.
Correct.
We enjoyed the maverick status,
yes,
which propelled Fox News to the top of the news ratings.
Right.
That attitude, like we don't care about the corrupt media because we know they're not telling the truth, and we're happy we're not in that club. That has changed.
The day that Fox News fires their entire primetime lineup and to replace it with Shep Smith is the day they would consider allowing Fox News into the club for about 2 days.
Well, that's true. I mean, Fox News is so demonized by the far left that no matter what it does, but Fox News does not want to be criticized by the Washington Post and the New York Times and CNN. So they said, okay, well, we'll throw in with the freedom of press movement, and we'll file an amicus brief, and maybe that'll send a signal that we want to be friends. We want to be friends with you guys.
Okay, so Bill O'Reilly, when we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit about the border and what is happening. And something I actually heard today driving in on, I don't remember what it was, some liberal podcast that I was listening to driving in, and they said, you'll notice that the left or the right is not even talking about the border. They don't even care about the border. They've dropped that. No. We're talking about it. We're very concerned about it. In fact, I'm wondering what the president is going to be doing about this now. So we go to the caravan and Mexico, and how Mexico has provided police escorts to our border when Bill O'Reilly comes back. Mr. Bill O'Reilly.
I am here.
Thank you. I was just doing a roll call. Bill, I enjoy our talks.
I hope so, Beck. I mean,
you can't even do it.
You learn, and you.
He cannot do it. He cannot do it. He can't. He is incapable of saying, me too. Me too.
Well, I wouldn't do it if I didn't like it.
Okay, so Bill, talk to me a little bit about the border and what's happening.
Well, first of all, we were told that it was mostly women and babies and children marching to the border. Remember we were told that?
Yes, and then we were told that they're never even going to make it to the border.
Right. So now the latest pictures from San Diego sector, where it seems that most of the migrants are going, have baby carriages on top of the wall. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. It's weird. I'm seeing like 20-year-old guys. It's weird.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought I saw a baby carriage, right?
No.
Perched on top of that 10-foot wall.
Yeah, no.
And going, let me in! Let me in! Okay? So, number one, Americans should know that all of the reporting on this situation has been a giant lie and a ruse. So what has happened is that this organization, Pueblos Sin Fronteras, received a grant of anywhere from $10 to $20 million. All right, organized these people in Honduras and other countries to come here.
Where did the grant of $20 million come from?
It came from the usual suspects, the far left crews that fund all of the open border stuff. In Hungary, a law was passed against George Soros specifically. The law says anyone giving money to aid illegal immigration into Hungary will be charged with a felony. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did.
That passed the parliament in Hungary. That is a law. They call it the anti-Soros law.
Unless you're on the left and they call it the anti-Semitic law.
Yeah, but it's
I know.
mostly okay. So anyway, the goal is to break the asylum system in America, to crash it. That's why you're seeing record numbers of families coming across the border and being detained. They're being told, the migrants in Central America and in migrant, if you get here with your children, you get in. And that's largely true, as there is a 3-year backlog to hear asylum cases, soon to be 4 years, if any of these thousands of people get in and ask for asylum. So that is the strategy. People should know the overall strategy of this. It's to break the system apart so that anybody could come here and ask for asylum, and their case won't be heard for 6 years. Meantime, they're released into America. And there's another thing going on. I don't know if anybody picked this up. In the trial of El Chapo, currently underway here in New York, he is the cartel kingpin. There are allegations being made that the president of Mexico, Nieto, was being paid by El Chapo. What a shock.
Yeah, not a shock at all.
All right, El Chapo, not only a drug dealer, but a people smuggler. Okay, so now we have that. And now the new president, coming into power in about 3 weeks, has said, I'm going to legalize all drugs in Mexico. I'm going to make them legal. Oh, that'll be good. That'll be good for America. So that's another reason, and Trump hasn't picked up on this, which is amazing to me, because that's another big argument for the wall. So you're going to have legalized narcotics, not pot, legalized poppy fields, heroin labs, everything. And you don't want a wall?
Okay. All right. We're going to pick it up there with Bill O'Reilly because, honestly, that kind of takes the Al Capone out of the booze business, but I want to hear Bill's opinion on it.
But when they were finally uploaded, they were 2 minutes late. The state board rejected the county's new vote totals.
I have taken responsibility for every act in this office.
I count the candles on the shelf.
Okay.
This is ridiculous.
No. Now, Florida really is in a world of its own at this point. Ron DeSantis is the next governor. Thank the good Lord. Republicans got wiped out in Orange County, California, Reagan country.
Reagan country is
wiped
gone.
out. Okay, completely wiped out. I don't know how we're going to ever get them back. I mean, except for a national, sad, horrible disaster because of the way the whole system in California has changed with a supermajority of Democrats. And now in most races, Republicans don't even run. Do you know that? In the statewide races,
right.
There is not even a Republican candidate. It's two
Laura,
Democrats
Laura,
running against each other.
Just be quiet for a moment.
I got to count.
I'm trying to count 1, 2.
Well,
three.
that looks like a Nelson vote.
Wait,
okay.
Bring me the magnifying glass.
Wait a second.
You're throwing my count. Now I got to start again. And that's basically what happened in Broward, okay, Laura? They did a machine.
Fraud.
They did a machine
Total
count.
fraud.
Okay, 8.3 million ballots counted by machine, but the imbeciles were late in turning the number in, so the state said no.
They were late on purpose. They were late on purpose because Rick Scott actually picked up almost 900 votes in the machine recount.
It's unbelievable.
So old swiper stopped swiping. Brenda.
We had been sitting there. We had just gotten the news that they had made it. They were 15 minutes ahead of deadline. They were ready to go and submit these results. 2 hours later, they came back and said, actually, just kidding. We were 2 minutes late because the person who was in charge of submitting the results did not know how to work the website. So now the entire week's worth of counting and recounting is over.
Millions of dollars of Floridian money wasted on these recount efforts. Now, the canvassing boards in the state's 67 counties have 3 days, to pour over thousands of ballots that were rejected by machine because of overvotes, where a voter appears to have chosen more than one candidate in the race, or undervotes where they appear to have skipped a race altogether.
But okay, I want to go through this whole undervote, overvote thing. And I know this may be just sound like a really ignorant question, but let me just say, I do not understand how your vote should be re-examined once you vote, unless the machine itself breaks.
If you undervote or overvote,
then you don't want to vote in the race.
Right.
Yeah, no one can compel you to pick someone for Senate.
Right.
Or if you voted for governor, maybe you don't like either person for the Senate race.
Right.
Maybe you don't like the person for the agriculture.
Or if you don't put the dot in the circle, if you don't fill in the circle, it's like the SAT.
You're too stupid
you
to
lose.
Vote. You're too stupid to vote, okay?
Too dumb to vote.
Voting while stupid. That should be a violation of Florida law.
I love
morons.
the judge, Lord. Judge Mark Walker.
By the way,
Obama
whose wife,
appointee.
Yeah, whose wife gave money to the Hillary campaign.
Right, but even he said, we have been the laughingstock of the world election after election, yet we still chose not to fix it. It is outrageous, I have to say. And there are some Republicans saying Rick Scott is swallowing his own poison here because he had ample opportunity. He, as the executive of Florida, had it within his reach to investigate these people and remove them as these election supervisors. And they should have been removed. This Brenda Snipes, the negligence, the woman is in violation of court order after court order, suppressing votes, mingling bad ballots with good, double counting things. Now she can't even get the count in on time or tell you how many outstanding ballots there were. This is an outrage.
It's complete travesty. And Rick Scott has got to take this all the way to the Supreme. He really should take this all the way to the court. Do an emergency petition. I'd skip the circuit court, go right to the Supreme Court, because this is now messing with the democratic process.
Well, it's like a bad fairy tale where the witch appears in the garden and says, you had 3 days to pour over all these ballots and tell us who the senator is for the state of Florida. Here's the problem. And this comes from the Miami Herald, during a manual recount, election workers have to examine overvotes and the undervotes. And then they're going to make a determination. Okay, what happens in Palm Beach now that the county has missed the machine recount? A spokesman said, by law, counties should continue counting past the deadline so the final tallies can be included in official results. They're due on November 18th and will be certified by the state on the 20th. Well, they missed that. If Palm Beach doesn't make the deadline, the county's we know what happens. They're now forced into a recount. This is a disaster. Palm Beach has approximately 5,950 ballots with overvotes and undervotes in the Senate race.
They're never going to make up the. They're never going to make up the difference. Even
What's
if
the
all
span?
of those, it's 17,000. I believe the difference is 12 to 17,000
between Scott and
Nelson. It's not a huge amount. It's certainly not as much. And give me the exact number, please. It's certainly not the same differential that DeSantis beat Gillum by. DeSantis had a larger margin, which is kind of curious.
Again, we're seeing that same span as we saw in Arizona, where the governor wins handily, and then the senatorial candidate, the Republican, suddenly comes up short. That doesn't happen in most elections. People vote straight ticket. They don't split ballot like this. How many people split ballot? I want to hear from you. 855-40-LAURA. When you go in, do you split ballot?
Yeah. Do you ever vote? Well, do you ever vote for one race but not the other? And do you believe that under or over votes should be re-examined
or thrown out
to discern the intent of the voter? I think that's crazy. This again is these rules. You would have thought that Rick Scott. I'm really mad at Rick Scott. He was governor of the state and did not fix this.
There's a 12,000 vote span that separates them.
I know most things off the top of my head. Not everything.
You're amazing.
But not everything.
It's because you don't
you know what I say to young brains out there? I tell my friends with the young brains, okay, I got an aging brain. My brain's like now going in the wrong direction. You guys should snap to. Got to know this stuff.
Yeah, but you know what? Her secret is using an ingredient found in jellyfish.
Prevagen is good. I love those jellyfish. I collect them on the beach and just eat them in a blender. I put them in a blender and I just eat them. They're great smoothies. There's a little sting on the way down.
I was about to say, I think you've been putting the stingrays in the blades just to add my little 2 cents. Now, the Palm Beach, I love this. Palm Beach Election Tabulation Center was empty Thursday. Empty. Nobody was there. They sent everybody home. The Palm Beach set aside $11 million to buy new equipment. But Boucher, the woman who's the election supervisor there, said the county hasn't yet purchased the machines because the state needs to resolve a question about voting system compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. The constant lies, half-truths, delays, missing deadlines.
Okay, so
they should shut them down, disqualify all the votes.
DeSantis is the next governor. Now it's up to him to fix this, okay? We have a great Ingram angle tonight on tap. You do not want to miss it. Friday Follies tonight could be one for the ages, okay? Do you think I don't think I've ever laughed as hard as I did last night on the show, during the show. It was